leave time for questions. That is a brilliant idea. Thank you, Mo. Did you do
That's
that?
the local machine. I think you could do the same. So
Yeah,
belts and braces, as they call them.
no, absolutely. It's recording. Um, it's on the computer though, isn't it?
Yes. So,
So I record to the computer, to the cloud. Okay, what's happened now? That's fine. Got
okay.
four of us, the recording button. Right. Okay. Video rewind, video replay. Good evening, and how lovely to see so many of you join us for this fascinating and inspirational workshop on AI and evaluations. So it's my great pleasure to welcome our presenters tonight, Merv Wyeth and Paul Stern. They first met through Project Management Institute, where they've worked together on conferences, including PMI UK's Sustainability Summit, helping develop the power skills that drive successful projects. They are communication, collaboration, leadership, and stakeholder engagement. It's perhaps no surprise that both are also passionate Toastmasters and currently serve as vice presidents education in their respective clubs. They understand that great leaders and project professionals grow through feedback, reflection, and continuous improvement. This evening, they'll explore how AI can enhance speech evaluations, helping evaluators uncover additional insights and deliver even greater value to speakers. So please join me in welcoming Merv and Paul.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janet. Let me fire up my screen. So we'll be using a thing called Mentimeter this evening. Administratively, I find a put the link within the chat, or you'll be able to click on the QR code that is just displaying momentarily. So we do want your involvement. You will see we want your involvement in all sorts of ways, but certainly with Mentimeter as we go through. So thank you for that introduction. I think we'll reveal a little more about ourselves as we go along, and we'll try to make this an interactive double act for you. So let's go on to our first slide. And there's a football theme here. I'm not really sure, but would you like to show us how are you feeling today? So just pin your dot on the map, and we get a sense of how you're feeling. Okay, I think that's probably the individual that's lying there in the sun. We've got a cheerleader here in the audience. I sometimes do this with a swimming pool. And then what I realize, there's a number of people have gone for the individual that's drowning. And then I think, hang on, there's a health and safety moment we need to have in here. So we should be a little safer with the football. I won't ask Paul where he's going to put his dot, but you can see. So this has got you on the move in Mentimeter. I don't know how many we've got on the call, maybe about 25, 30. Really, we
There's
do want
20 at the moment.
20. We want as many as possible to respond. Here we've got Jude Bellingham. So, depending on who else you're on, Messi or something like that. But okay, great. We're underway. Let's go on to our next slide. Are you a member of Toastmasters? Are you a member of Toastmasters? Let's just reveal. Okay. We have one non-Toastmaster. Oh, two. That's great. Hopefully you may be in the not yet camp, but that's great. I'm sure there are more here, but that's just to get us underway. So thank you for that response. Next question on Toastmasters. What Toastmaster role or roles do you currently perform? What Toastmaster role or roles do you currently perform? see the results coming in. You can flash them up. VPE, there's a few of us there, which is great. VP Education, VPPR, SE. What's an SE, Janet?
That's my typo.
Oh,
it should have said sec.
Oh, right. Okay, fair enough. In fact, there may not have been enough room there, but in all of them. Okay, great. Thank you for that. Let's move on. Do you use AI as part of your Toastmaster activities? I can see there's 14 responses. If we can up the numbers a little bit more, that would be great. Who have we got there? We've got Rajan. Rajan, let's make sure you're involved. We've got Sam Lung on the call. Sam is the developer, the brains behind what we're going to show you. So thank you for joining us, Sam. Credit to you. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Oh, it's not unanimous, but it's in the majority of us, 8-3, to prefer not to say. I think some people like to hide their use of AI under the radar. What's that called, Violetta, when they hide? You don't admit it? What's the title?
Guilt users. Guilt users.
That's it. Guilt users. Love it. Love it. All right. And how do you use AI in your Toastmaster activities? So a little bit more thought on this one. I'm going to hide the results until we get others responding. How do you use AI in your Toastmaster activities? When I get to more than 10 results, I can do a clever AI thing as well. So do please. And you can obviously do more than one response. Okay, let's take a look. Speech inspiration, help with table topics questions. Francesca, I've seen your example of that, which is good. Ideas, table topics, brainstorming, polishing sentences, check and observe draft versions of speeches, and ask for suggestions for improvement. Okay, that's interesting. Let's just use Mentimeter here. The way it does, it will organize things into groups. So we can see here, speech preparation is perhaps one of the main ones. Feedback and editing, that's probably more relevant to what we're looking at. Evaluation, and we've got some in content and generation. Speech ideas, check and observe draft versions, speeches, brainstorming, polishing ideas. That's great. Thank you for that. Okay, what I want to do now is really take you back to D91 conference, which was called Route to Rise. And that conference, myself and Nigel Smith at that time ran a workshop entitled AI versus Human, Who Evaluates Better? It was a really successful workshop. It was there was a bit of jeopardy there, and we couldn't actually get YouTube working until we actually started our presentation. And you'll see in a moment why that's quite important. So we had to overcome, but with some help, some tech difficulties. But ultimately, we were looking at who evaluates better. And in order to do that, we used a target speech. And the target speech from Anthony Garvey, many of you D71 people will know Anthony quite well. Anthony gave his speech of Come to the Edge, which was I think a district winning speech or that sort of level. It was given online, and we were able to compare the evaluation, the live evaluation that a guy called Gar Locke did very, very impressively, and then our version of it. That worked really well. And Come to the Edge, here's the actual speech, or a nice little rich picture of the speech. And you'll see something like this a little later on. But this has been generated from AI based on a slide deck that we generated from the speech. So that was the speech, and really, really interesting. And before we go on, I'll just tell you a little bit about how we do the AI evaluations. So first of all, I think many of you will actually be judges or have judged various types of Toastmaster contest, and you will be familiar with the judge's guide and the ballot. So in this case, these are taken from the international contest as opposed to the humorous or the table topics. And there are 8 different categories across 3 sections. And these make up the 100 points across the sections. And you can see the categories that are in bold: the speech development effectiveness, speech value, etc. And below that are the subcategories that we are using for our evaluation, and you use when you evaluate speeches within contests. So we wanted to take a standard that people were familiar with. And here's a little bit more, again, taken from that worksheet, the ballot, and you can see there we've chosen one of the categories from section, that's effectiveness. It has a subcategory of clear purpose, achievement of purpose and relevance, and then there's the information that goes with that. And you can see as part of that information, there's a suggestion on the type of questions that you should ask yourself or address as an evaluator. So was I able to determine the speaker's purpose? Did the speech relate directly to that purpose? Was the audience interest held by the speaker? Was this speech subject appropriate for this particular audience? So back to what we did at the conference was we got a human evaluator to provide a 3-minute evaluation of that. And then we used these criteria to provide our AI evaluation. Are you with me so far? Paul, if you can keep an eye on any hands up, etc., that I may miss, but I think we're probably good.
Will do.
Okay, so today we have a new speech for you. There's a drum, and I know that we like the old drum roll. I'm not very good at that, but you know what I mean. So you're going to be treated to a new speech, and that new speech is called Hello, Paul, and it's been given by Paul, who's my buddy in this presentation. And what I want you to do is to evaluate that speech. So we're going to play it. It's a 7-minute speech. And then afterwards, I'm going to allow you 3 minutes in order to actually provide some feedback into Mentimeter. So you might want to make some notes. But just before we play it, I'll ask Paul, do you want to just tell us a little bit about the speech, when you gave it, etc.?
Yeah, so the speech was for on vocal variety, and it came about through really a pure coincidence. I did actually have this trigger, which you'll see about in the speech, and it gave me an opportunity, whilst I was thinking about it, to bring in quite a few aspects of the skills I hope that I've learned during my travels with Toastmasters. You know, vocal variety, pausing, and changes of volume. I found, so I obviously know what the evaluation I had from my club, and then the evaluation from this AI, and it's set me on a bit of a journey looking at, I think, finer points of my speaking, but also some bits which we'll pick up later, where how I've viewed the end product. But yeah, the speech is a true story, and like probably most people here, I absolutely hate hearing myself. So, but I will put up with it as as you're listening to it.
Okay. Thank you so much, Paul. Janet, just to double check, when I play, I'm not sure whether I've shared the audio, so I may have to reshare, but let's just see what happens.
Okay.
So listen in. And
Paul will be delivering the third speech of his presentation, Master Pathway. It's Introduction to Vocal Variety and Body Language. And Paul asked me to specifically pay attention to his vocal variety. The title of the speech is Hello, Paul. Paul, the stage is yours.
Sorry about that. Trigger memories. We all have the capability of experiencing these. They're those sensory inputs, be it from the sight, sound, nose, or mouth, or they could be thoughts suddenly engage past experiences and memories and bring them to the forefront of your mind. These can be good. An aroma, a reminder of that enjoyable meal with family and friends. Or we can be transported back to that romantic dance with someone that we were smitten to by just a couple of notes of music. But of course, they can also have a negative side. I'm sure many of us have taken a whiff of a certain alcoholic beverage, reminded that they will never, ever taste that alcohol again. Southern Comfort being mine. But also there's the extremes. People who suffer PTSD are quite often having to relive terrible events. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests, my name is Paul Stern, and I'd like to take a moment just to share a recent memory trigger that I experienced not too long ago, and had nothing to do with Southern Comfort. For context, I'm a freelance hydrographic surveyor. I have an agent who finds work for me, but like the saying says, you're only as good as your last job, and that is so true. Hello, Paul. 2 words. Words that a few of you used today when I joined online. Now, whilst those 2 words make up a sentence, they're not the sum of the meaning. For example, hello, Paul, is, well, nice and polite. Hello, Paul. Yeah, quite angry. Hello, Paul. Someone who's smitten with you. Hello, Paul. Oh no, not you again. Hello, Paul. Earth, the planet Paul, come in. I recently finished a job. I had spent the day in the office, QCing data and reports, going over charts, people's handwritten notes. 12 hours, and I was ready to go back to the hotel. As I walked past the operation manager's office, a chap who I know really well and is very nice, he called out, "Hello, Paul." I suddenly stepped into a time machine and I was transported back years to Angola. On a drilling rig where we were working, we had to place a drill string, which is 150 mils in diameter, into a box on the seabed, measuring 1 meter squared. It was in the 3,000 meters of water, and at the time, that was at the forefront of technology. As things would happen, everything was going wrong, or as they call it, God's law. We had a client who was the absolute pure definition of the Peters principle, someone who had been promoted to their maximum level of incompetence. As we worked hard addressing what was wrong, he would pace up and down. Do you know how much this rig is costing every day? Yes, $750,000. I could position this with my handheld GPS, which only costs $100. Why are we paying for you? Hey, you're the client. Please, if you want to do that, do it. I'll just jot it in the logbook and Yeah, I have no problem with that. To cut a long story short, after a few days, I had to go over his head and submit a formal complaint. I had a trainee with me, and the trainee was ill. He would jump at the smallest sounds. He wasn't eating. I had to look after him as well. See, I actually love jobs where things go wrong. I thrive in stressful environments, but I had to look after him. Well, the rep wasn't happy, and utilizing the old boys club, he stayed on board and we got kicked off. My trainee flew home and handed his notice. 3 years of hard university, and he had had enough. He didn't want any more. This was only his first or second job. His mental health meant more to him than the paycheck, which I can understand. Me, I had to endure days of grilling by management. What had gone wrong? But what irked me was, as we were leaving the rig, this rep turned around to me and said, "You better watch your back. You're in Angola, remember? You'll never work in this industry again." Well, after I'd sorted out the management and we'd come to the agreement that we had done nothing wrong, I wanted another job, but there wasn't anything. Now, was that because his influence was so great that everything was drying up for me? Or was it a quiet period? I honestly don't know. But at the time, my mind was thinking, oh, crumbs, what have I done? You see, years before this, I'd met this rep before. He was on a survey vessel, and he was as arrogant as he was the day on the rig. He would insult people, drive people up the wall, put a lot of stress on where it wasn't required, and in particular for the women, he made their life hell. So I complained. I complained to the vessel's master, who had overall authority when it comes to health and safety. And the vessel master kicked him off. Well, that day when I landed on the rig, I stepped off the helicopter, I stepped into the office. Who should I see? This rep. He looked at me and went, "Hello, Paul." And it wasn't a smitten hello, Paul. Thank you very much. And back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. So what I want you to do is rate these elements of Paul's speech. So they are at the level of those sections: content, delivery, language, with the different categories. So if you can rate those.
I promise I won't jump in.
See if responses come in. There's 7 so far. Hopefully there's a few more people can do some rating. I'll wait till I've got 10, I think. 10. Yes. Do keep, please, do keep your answers coming. Okay. So there we are. There we are. We have, and you can see the range that we've got over here. But content, we've got 3.8 out of 5. Delivery, we've got 3.6, and then language 3.9. So an overall score of 3.8. So thank you for that. The next piece of work, please, and I guess many of you have these compliment slips. Typically we do that at Worthing, where you fill those in. And I'm going to allow 3 minutes for this. And you do have the opportunity to put in a number of different responses. I think you get up to 200 characters in any given response. So I'm going to put 3 minutes on. If I thought about this, I would have put some music on, but I'm going to stop talking. Thank you. I can see the answers starting to come in, which is brilliant. Okay. See more 20 seconds now.
Nervous.
Remember, if we get to 10, then we can do that AI thing and group them. Time is up. Okay, let's have a look. Right. From the top. Don't know if I can. There's 14. Should we whiz through them, or is it be easier just to? I think it might be easier to pick some out, Paul. I'm gonna ask Paul to do some of this, and I think maybe I will group them. I'll group them, and then like a pack of cards, pick a card, Paul. Any card.
The body language one.
Body language. Okay.
Yep, I thoroughly agree on this one. I think that's the difference when you're working on a camera and when you're working on a stage. It's very easy to forget when you're on camera, you don't have the whole stage. But something I never even considered, because I spend most of my time on camera, what I never considered, and this is what I like about the AI, and we'll pick it up later, is I've actually got a curve in my spine and 2 buggered legs, so to speak. So I actually can't stand still. So I have to keep on moving. Well, a small screen like that movement really is exaggerated. So we're on stage, it's lost because you're able to move around the stage. So it's great. And whoever gave this comment, you're one of the few people who actually picked up on it, who's ever commented on that. I think that's kind of maybe a reverse subconscious bias, because we don't like making people feel bad or upsetting them, but we all have conscious biases, and how someone moves is something you do pick up very quickly, but don't necessarily feel that you can react to it. So I like that one. Vocal delivery. It was relatable to everyone. Memories. Yeah, it's
That one.
it was quite evocative language to extend it. It was both a very stressful occasion, which I kind of hope some of that came through. Thank you for calling it a clever title. Yeah, any other ones are there? Scroll down a wee bit.
There's 5 in there.
Yeah.
I think to do this justice, we probably need a lot more time and then pull
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. Do you want to
But
crack on a bit? Otherwise, we won't have time for the.
yes, I think
Yeah.
so. But it looks like we've got some real quality responses.
But thank you for the people who put those responses. I'll add that to my my comments.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just show you very quickly how we analyze that speech, and what we do within our AI coaching system, for want of a better name, is we take the YouTube link. So it must be public on YouTube, but all we need is that link that you've watched today. We categorize it. Is it a Toastmaster speech? We do TEDx talks and we can do webinars, but we're working in Toastmasters here. Speaker name, and this would be speech title.
Sorry, just interrupting you, Merv. I just need to step away from the screen for about 30 seconds.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. We can actually do without Paul at the moment. Right, and then it's a standard speech. What we can also do is then we can say what pathway is it from, what level is it at, and what particular project or speech name is it. And this one, introduction to vocal variety and body language. What that does, it matches the goal and the objectives that are held for those particular speeches, so that is factored into the mix. What we've also then done is we've taken the categories that we have, those 8 categories and the subcategories, and identified some preset questions. So we've created like a question bank in there. And finally, we enable the actual speaker to ask some questions about their speech. So all of that goes into the mix. And for example, if we were to take that first question, how effective was opening with memory triggers before the Angola story, and what opening might have created stronger audience response? So those are specific questions that we can ask that as an evaluator you might be asked to do. And if we'd had time, then we could go into that question, the other question, etc. And I dare say it would be quite challenging to come up with meaningful answers to those questions that Paul really wanted to know about. So I've got a couple of things for you. We'll come to this coaching script in a moment, but where we get to is we provide outputs that are useful to Paul and yourselves as a result of this. So let's then jump into our speech evaluator that we've got here. So just as I said, we put in the YouTube link, we choose Toastmasters, we put in the name details, and choose the speech length. It's important, was it to time? And we measure that time from when the speaker starts speaking to when they finish. The pathway information and those additional questions. And in true Blue Peter style, I'm going to go to one I prepared earlier. It only takes about a minute to prepare, but this is an example of having done that. So what we're doing here, we're creating a number of different reports about that. So we have a standard report, we have a dashboard, we have slides, and we have a coaching script. So 4 different types of report. And those reports we can look at in a moment. The coaching script, we've got something, I think, a little bit special there, in that we've linked it up with a text-to-voice engine called ElevenLabs. Some of you will probably know it. So we can choose what voice reads the coaching script. And maybe we'll do a little bit of that in a moment. So we're able to produce those. So what do those things look like? Well, here you've got an example of the speech. If I just... So it's an evaluation report. And first of all, can you guys see that? Okay, I think it's... Okay, good. So on the exec summary, it is what it says. You've got the speaker, the title, the time that it took. It's on time. It's within that 7.5 minute window. And then we've got an exec summary. We pull out the speech structure, which is really quite important, and timestamp it as well. So you can see the introduction, the motif, the setup, the conflict. And I think this goes into part 2, the threat, the resolution. So we've got information that it's pulled out as it's broken down the structure of the speech. We come up with a central motif. So in this one, the power of auditory memory triggers to instantly transport a person back to high stress professional conflicts. I think you'll agree it's a pretty good motif. And then what we do, we go through each of the 8 different criteria and identify what worked and what to improve. And this is not dissimilar, I suspect, to all those club evaluations that we did. So identifying, pulling these points out. So we've got structure and flow, and we've got something to pull to work on there, what to improve. Audience impact. And you'll note here, we've also pulled out a score for that particular element that we are increasingly training our model to make sure that those scores are spot on. So audience impact, we've got value and meaning, deepen the emotional impact on the trainee, body language and gestures, raise hand gestures higher to keep them inside the camera frame. Sorry, Paul, I'm picking on the what to improve, but you know what I mean. You've also got the what worked, brilliant pitch and volume modulation during dialogue. I'll just move through this so we can get to the other sections that we've got. So what we then pull out is some key highlights, and we've got a couple of those. So a strong logical connection between the abstract opening and the concrete narrative. Highlights part 1, highlights part 2. And then the audience learning. As you know, the evaluation is given as much for the benefit of the audience as for the individual. In fact, we often give it in the third person. We've got audience learning, a visual delivery assessment. So bear in mind, this is based on the YouTube recording. So the AI is watching what's going on there, and hence able to provide feedback on visual delivery. And there's 2 parts to that assessment. Then we start to get to some suggestions for improvement. And in this case, they are time stamped. And so they're really quite specific and in objective terms, smart. And then there's a second suggestion there. And then we've pulled together an action plan. So the idea here is that Paul, perhaps as he works through this pathway level 1, he might want to put in place an action plan with a number of priorities. So we have a priority 1 for Paul, elevate the physical gesture field. A priority 2, and a priority 3. And then, now this is quite nice, and we've asked those questions that that I mentioned that I put in there. So how effective was opening with the memory triggers before the Angola story? and what opening might have sparked stronger audience response. Forgive me, it's kind of gone under the page, but the memory trigger opening grounded the concept logically, but delayed the story hook. Start directly with the Angola confrontation to instantly hook the audience emotional attention. Got a second question there. And then finally, the third Q&A. And then we provide the final slide, the thank you. And I recognize the work done by Sam on this to actually help me get this to this stage. So any thoughts on what you've seen there? I can't see. Let's have a look at the chat. I'll just pause.
Needless to say, Merv and I have gone through this a number of times, and on the whole, I agree with just about everything. The only thing that I can understand why it's come up, but which I personally disagree with, is the way it says I should start. Whereas I believe the hello Paul bit provided the framework rather than talking about Angola to start off with. So it just goes to show, AI is great, but you need to balance it also with the human aspect, and but the rest of it, it does give you some interesting points, because I think it looks down to at times a more macro level than you necessarily get time for in a club evaluation. Rajan's got his hand up.
Yeah, Rajan.
Yep. Thank you for that wonderful speech. That eerie hello, Paul. That was the most highlighted part of the whole speech. So I was just wondering, as a human being, that was the most creative and most insightful part of the whole speech. And ending the speech with that just hello, Paul,
Yeah.
leaving all the imaginations to the audience. That is, there is any way that creative part of the speaker getting highlighted or pointed out through this tool?
Yeah, so that's really the point of the Q&A. We had thought about those questions, but if you can address the AI tool with those questions, then it will come up with an answer. It's to what extent it's kind of got the emotional element to it, I don't know, Rajan, but we can, if we had a bit of time, we could certainly ask those questions of it. The other bit that I wanted just to show here before we perhaps download the slides or the script is the script here, and probably it would be better if Adam read the script rather than Merv, but maybe we'll just start. We'll perhaps do half of it. It is a 3-minute piece, so here we go.
Hi, Paul. Let's debrief your narrative presentation. Hello, Paul. You delivered a structured, engaging speech exploring sensory memory triggers through your experience on an offshore drilling rig in Angola. Here's an analytical look at your delivery choices and opportunities for further growth. Looking at your structural choices, your opening on the science of memory triggers grounded the concept logically, but it delayed your main narrative hook. For greater impact, start directly with the high-stakes Angola confrontation at 0030 to capture immediate emotional attention. Regarding your vocal delivery, the whispered "Hello, Paul" at 0705 was highly effective. To deepen this emotional arc during the setup of the threat at 0535, deliberately slow your pacing and lower your pitch to emphasize the client's vindictiveness. Finally, while the trainee's presence at 0435 provided useful contrast, his experience was underexplored. Dedicating a short, descriptive vignette showcasing his physical distress under pressure would significantly maximize audience empathy by highlighting the human cost.
Okay, if we leave that one there for sake of time, and that's what I was going to play in here. That's essentially the same coaching script. So these can be produced then as in PDF form, if you like, the slides and the coaching script, and that's what the customer, if you like, would receive. And those slide decks are really good for creating a rich picture. So in just the same way as the triggers of perhaps listening to and reading those reports, this image I think is quite strong because it does use the same information and clearly there's a nice lot of emotion in there. Good one, Paul. I like it. Now, what I thought I'd do, I'm going to hand over to Violetta you've got 5 minutes, Violetta, if you like, just to walk us through your this particular speech and your experience of using the tool.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, this is my speech that was evaluated by AI tool. And my speech is Gin, Luggage and Sheepdogs was created and delivered purposefully for Club Humorous Speech Contest. And I won the contest. And as you know, competition speeches in competitions, they are not evaluated. So when Merv evaluated with his AI tool, it was the first evaluation and not by human, but by AI tool. With this speech, I also won unofficial Toastmasters area contest where experienced speakers presented their speeches. So I was very happy about that and thought that this speech has a good potential. I haven't delivered it in other competitions or further on because of shortage of time. So it still has the potential for the next year, as this year I'm area director, so I cannot participate in any competition. But since I received a very comprehensive evaluation of this speech by AI tool, I'm very pleased with it and definitely will take into account all the points. And now about the evaluation, if I may, yeah?
Yes, yeah, please do.
So about evaluation, when I received it, as you already know, it was in two formats. I've got the script and I got the slides, speech evaluation slides. So I liked most of all slides because I'm more of a visual learner, sorry. So those slides worked very well for me. I could visualize and read and see the points very clearly. And I liked the specific feedback that was mentioned for all the points. That is quite different from the feedback that we received during Toastmasters evaluation, for example, because it's more comprehensive. And sometimes I believe if you get a very experienced evaluator, it can catch it. But usually, if you have more time, you can catch everything, but AI can catch it, all the small bits very quickly. So I like that. And in no time, you get a thorough evaluation of your speech, and you as a speaker can progress quite easily if you take that into account. So my points, I liked the feedback. I don't know, probably, one of the points from the feedback that, for example, it was written that slightly soften extreme expression during neutral transition sentences to give her face a brief rest. Well, that's a very small point to say, but it's actually when you are progressing as a speaker, it's very important, because at the end of the day, when we progress, we have a goal and we want to be as best as we can. So I believe with this evaluation at the end, I can be a more experienced and more balanced speaker with every point of speaking I am delivering. And anything else?
I think that's
Yeah,
that's
that's
probably
it.
covered it
Yeah.
beautifully. So what I think we'll do is, and in fact you were kind enough to give us a testimonial that covers what you did there, and that's very much appreciated. I know a number of you have already done that, so very much appreciated. And as a result of that, I too created another image of Violetta, based on a different dress, but very nice too. And there you can see gin, luggage, and sheepdogs. And if we had time, I'd have treated you to that speech as well. So I know we're getting close to time. We can take Q&A through Mentimeter, or I can deal with any other questions. Lucy, I saw your comment in chat. Thank you for that. Did you want to say anything on top of that, or?
No, well, thank you for demonstrating this so ably. The ones that you did for me, I think, were at your experimental stage. So you were working on it, and but I did find them extremely useful for honing a speech. The only thing is that that's great for a contest when you want to practice it and deliver it. But most speeches that Toastmasters give in a club, it changes every time you give a speech. You don't give the same speech twice, except in one project on level 1. And I thought, well, some of the suggestions that it made about improving that particular speech, perhaps not all that relevant to me, because I'm not likely to be delivering it again. Nevertheless, the whole concept is perfect, because you can adapt, even though you might not be delivering that particular speech again, you can adapt the recommendations and advice to your next speech. So yeah, I mean, what's not to like about this tool? It's fantastic.
Yeah. And one of the, Lucy will remember the incident, or the first story, where I happened to be recording, and the evaluator who was supposed to be evaluating an icebreaker speech had got themselves muddled up. So they weren't listening to the right speech. And there you have someone giving an icebreaker who actually didn't have someone ready to evaluate for them. Could be quite crushing, but thankfully, because we'd done the recording with permission, we were able to provide that speech. So I do think it's worked. And, you know, I'm often seen at Worthing speakers just doing the recording, only ever with the speaker permission, but that has worked really well. Okay, let's just move through to a conclusion. I think we'll leave this particular question, the benefits of AI speech evaluation, to both speakers and to clubs. And then we get on to where we're going next with this. So there is an opportunity for you to have your own speeches evaluated through a simple process that we've designed. So first of all, the recording and sharing, we invite you to share your speeches with us, and they can either be through your own YouTube account, where you simply upload and provide the public link, or you can upload a speech to our Google Drive, and we can go from there. Then we'll use the evaluation engine, and we'll send you the reports. That will be the report that you've seen in the slide deck and the coaching script. And then, of course, you can use them to actually accelerate your performance. So what does that mean? There again, here's the evaluation report and the coaching script that you will receive or that Paul received. Now, here's where we are in terms of actually pricing this. A lot of work has gone into creating this. So we've put together some packages that that we think people will like. So there's a foundation, the first speech, but you can set up an account and organize yourself 2 speeches. So look at how you improved. And believe it or not, one of the improvement speeches we got here was Sabi Sengupta, who was the world champion last year, who showed how his speech improved over 6 weeks, not down to our tool I had, but you know, being able to compare speeches. So these are the opportunities. If you want to take advantage of the foundation, I'll certainly throw in a nice visual that I think you would enjoy, but I do encourage you to test this. It would be great if you can. We'll have to deal with any snags. It may be if you can get others to do that, we can refund you, but we want to kick things off. So here is perhaps the final Menti just before we finish up. Time-wise, we are pretty much 8 o'clock. Would you like to know more about AI speech evaluation? So there's just a very quick form there. If you can complete that, if you have a moment, and then we'll see behind the scenes whether you would like to know more. I'll give it a few moments for the responses to come in. If you can bear with us, I think we will just run a couple of minutes over. So I think I've got the amber light on at the moment.
So what I've found brilliant with this is I've already used the takeaways from the evaluation and plugged that into my next speech, which I'm due to give in a couple of weeks' time. So I'm curious to see what happens when I have the AI run through it again, and I'm making a conscious effort to address all the recommendations. So it should be interesting to see whether I have actually progressed. I hope I have. But yeah, it will be. It's a great tool because I think it's able to pick up things which you don't necessarily have time to pick up in a normal evaluation process.
Yeah, thank you for that, Paul. I mean, I appreciate the fact you've been quite vulnerable in terms of exposing a speech that you gave, but you never expected to be vandalized to death like this. And the same for Violetta and others that have given that information. So, you know, a thank you for that. Clearly, people are using AI in other areas. So again, we're always happy to discuss this. One other area, I'm talking with Paul, the chief judge for D91. I've forgotten his surname. Janet, can you help me with that?
Yes, it's Paul Walsh.
Paul Walsh, later on, to think about things like training judges. So if you do judge, and perhaps think about what sort of training you've given, how about training, looking together at some target speeches and then learning from the AI? Just a thought. And then as we draw to a close, I also had an opportunity to evaluate a really cracking speech. We haven't got time to go into it, but living in a goldfish bowl. Janet,
Yes.
over to you and back to you.
Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, this is quite a flattering image compared with the grey henna. I did give this speech quite a while back. It was actually the first time I'd entered in the international speech contest. I did get through to the area, and I made the classic mistake of going over time by 4 seconds and being disqualified. So I hang my head in shame. I've not done that since. But seriously, I found the evaluation, the AI, picked up some things which I hadn't actually intended to do when I delivered the speech, which I found was very interesting. I thought, oh, it's picked up that which I did without thinking about it, but it is good to do that intentionally in future. I love its language. And I said to Merv, I'm actually going to use this as a framework when I give evaluations, because it's much nicer terminology than, oh, my recommendation would be. Instead, it said, to elevate this presentation to the next level. I mean, that is such a beautiful way of inspiring people to do that. So I really appreciated the evaluation from a totally different perspective. I do feel that it was more objective than some evaluations. I do have a problem sometimes when evaluations are a little bit too nice, when we're all here for a reason, and that's improve our speaking. And I want people to say, that was okay, but you could do a lot better, because that will challenge. So yes, Merv, I was actually quite impressed with that coaching script. Thank you very much indeed. And I love your picture.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you. And that's really just brings us to an end. If you want to know more, then reach out to us. We're easily found on LinkedIn. And I've actually spelt the name of our new site wrong. It's betterpresenting.ai. You know, this is all very new. And as I say, I've had tremendous help with this from Sam, who's on the call, who's burnt a lot of midnight oil. So, but do please contact us. You know, you may even avail yourself of the first evaluation. So that's us. I think we're to time. And yeah, I'll bid you farewell. Thank you for joining us on a Sunday evening.
Fantastic. Thank you, Merv and Paul, very much indeed for that
Thank
really
you.
insightful presentation. And yeah, how we can use the AI not just for speech inspiration, but to go to that next level of improvement. Thank you. We've recorded this. I will be sending out the link to all those who have registered. So if you weren't able, obviously you're not able to attend, you won't be here now. But if you know people who would like to hear more, you can certainly forward the link to them as well. So thank you all very much indeed for attending.